Now look at the definition of CSR. So what is CSR? So how can we define the CSR? And to our disappointment, there are more than 33 definitions of CSR according to one study, and they say that this is not whole. This is not everything of the definition of CSR, but there are many academically derived definitional constructs. So the scholars are trying to use these constructs for their study. But Carroll's definition, okay, that includes uh, four-part definition, okay, four-part uh, that includes four categories of responsibilities. So according to Carroll, there are four categories of responsibilities of a corporation. So one is economic responsibilities of a corporation and legal responsibilities of a corporation and ethical categories of ethical responsibilities of corporation and discretionary philanthropic responsibilities of a corporation. So these responsibilities are the expectations placed on the corporation by corporate stakeholders and society as a whole. What is interesting is that in the past there were just economic and legal or ethical responsibilities, but Carroll added discretionary or philanthropic responsibility into these traditional uh, responsibilities of a corporation. Okay, so uh, so let's look at the responsibilities, the four category of responsibilities one by one. The first one is the economic responsibilities. So the economic responsibility of business is to produce goods and services that society desires and to sell them at profit. By doing so, business fulfill their primary responsibility as economic units in society. So when we are doing some kind of CSR activities or CSR initiatives, many of the companies are saying that they are doing their social responsibilities by turning out the best product at the lowest cost possible. That's what they say. They are doing their best in the corporate social responsibility, and there are so many of them saying such a thing, especially in Japanese companies, and that is, I think, to some extent, very reasonable and justifiable opinion about CSR. But there are many, but this may not be everything of their responsibility. But we have to accept that this is one of the main, very important responsibilities of a corporation. Okay, in the free market economy. But here are some questions about what extent should the business pursue profits? Okay, this question, there are uh, two contradicting opinions, and one is a maximum profit score, and the other is the the acceptable profit score. Okay, so which one is right for the corporation or for the society? So for the maximum profit score, there's a Milton Friedman. Okay, Milton Friedman said there is one and only one social responsibility of business to use its resources and engage in activities designed to increase its profits so long as it stays within the rules of game, which is to say engages in open and free competition without deception or fraud. So in this phrase, there's very interesting words like one and only one. That means I think this is some kind of mathematical terms, and one and only means soul in one word. Okay, and it's very extreme and very strong opinion about the social responsibility of business. Okay, there is no other. He's saying that actually there is no other social responsibility other than this. Okay, And there is also very interesting words, the rules of the game. So he considers the corporate activity as a kind of game, rules of the game. And uh, in the open and free competition without deception or fraud, whatever the corporation may do, he thinks is right. So within the limit of the, the the law, okay, if they don't do any deception or fraud, they can do whatever in open and free competition, in whatever in open and free market, market competition. So later, I hope we talk about whether this is the game. Okay, this is just a game. So he is trying to say that this is a game, and in game, we unless we deceive someone or cheat someone, uh, we can do whatever we can in the limit of open and free market. Okay, market rules. This is what he says, and I think so many people considers Milton Friedman as a villain of corporate responsibilities, and but I don't think that is very extreme view, but I can find many problems in his standpoint. So for this opinion, there is a Drucker's opinion, and he presents an alternative perspective to the classical economic view of maximum profits. Okay, he says that profit performs three main functions. First, it measures the effectiveness of business activities. Second, it provides a risk premium necessary for the corporation to stay in business. And third, it ensures the future supply of capital. So these are the main functions of profits, and it should not be no more and no less. Okay, so a profitability objective therefore measures not the maximum profits the business can produce, but the minimum it must produce. This is Drucker's view of the maximum profit. But I think this is very awkward opinion because uh, I don't think there's anyone uh, cut, who is cutting their profits uh, so th- so that they cannot be penalized by social uh, opinion. Okay, so I think this is a very funny discussion. Okay, anyhow, so there's a acceptable profit theory, acceptable profits score about the question of to what extent should the business pursue profits. Okay, so this is what they are afraid of. Okay, a firm that is extracting more from society and it is returning and can suggest that profits have risen because the firm has exploited. So here's the problem of exploitation. Some of its stakeholders in order to favor shareholders and upper management. This can indicate untrustworthiness to stakeholders or looking to establish or maintain relations with the firm. Okay, if a company is making too much profit uh, without uh, proper uh, endeavors, okay, or without proper uh, return to the society, uh, stakeholders cannot but have some kind of untrustworthiness. So they cannot but think that there's some kind of exploitation of the society or the stakeholders. Okay, so still, though there are two schools of acceptable profit and maximum profit, uh, they cannot negate the financial profit to stockholders. Okay, uh, that is very necessary. one in the free market society. And when we are talking about this kind of profits, we have to also consider the short-term profits and long-term profits. And short-term profits do not always uh, come with long-term profits. Okay, so long-term negative effects. We have to think about the long-term negative effects of the short-term uh, short-term profits. Okay, long-term negative effects of the application of the maximization principle in the long term, in the short term. That means uh, here Milton Friedman is talking about maximum profits, but it can be just for short term. Okay, but in the long term, this kind of maximum profit may not be maximum profit in the long term. So we have to think about the longer term. So this relates to the concept of mm, sustainability. Okay, in the long term, whether it is useful or not. Okay, so we have to think about the long term, and this may be short-term idea, Milton Friedman's idea. Okay, so within without within the limit of the social uh, law, okay, social uh, limit, uh, he can pursue maximum profits in the short term, but there can be a long-term loss, okay, for this kind of situation. Okay, so that is the discussion about the economic responsibility and the profit. Okay. And secondly is legal responsibilities. So the legal responsibilities of business refer to the positive and negative obligations put on businesses by the laws and regulations of the society where it operates. So wherever a company operates, they have under some certain laws and regulations of the society. And the law and regulations are the codified ethics of society and represent only partial fulfillment of the social contract between business and society. So uh, he's saying that this is the minimum, okay, minimum of the corporate responsibility, okay, that is that is derived from uh, the the contract between social contract between business and society, and that is economic responsibilities and legal responsibilities. And we are talking about ethical responsibilities. So because we know too well about the ethical aspects of cooperation. It doesn't have to explain further here, but the responsibilities extend beyond the economic and legal responsibilities. Okay, so the first one is the ethical responsibility, and the second one is the philanthropic responsibility. So the idea of social responsibility is suppose that the corporation has not only economic and legal obligations, but also certain responsibilities to society, which extend beyond these obligations. Okay, so the merit of CSR activities should be determined by the free market mechanism, and uh, as such, corporate social responsibility activities that are not rewarded by the market are those activities that individuals do not value and are therefore unwilling to support. So while we are performing our social responsibilities, the corporate social responsibilities, uh, our activities will be valued and supported by the individuals in the market, and that will have, in turn, very positive effects. Okay? And uh, fourth, uh, fourth ingredient of corporate social responsibility, according to Carroll, is the discretionary and philanthropic responsibilities. And this is something that people misunderstand. Okay, and some of the people are considering the corporate social responsibility as philanthropic activities, philanthropic responsibilities, and we are going to talk about this kind of understanding with some cases. But CSR is a commitment, actually, basically, and fundamentally, CSR is a commitment to improve community well-being through discretionary business practices and contributions of corporate resources. Okay? So, and the essence of CSR and what it really refers to are the ethical and philanthropic obligations of the corporation towards society. So, because CSR is a commitment, basically a commitment to improve community, okay, to improve community well-being. So, they should uh, care about the the philanthropic responsibilities or discretionary responsibilities. So this is more wide, very wide view of responsibilities of a corporation. The economic and legal responsibilities are required. I think this is very proper and good way of expressing these responsibilities. Economic and legal responsibilities are required. Okay? The ethical responsibilities are expected, and the discretionary philanthropic responsibilities are desired. So the weight is different among these uh, social responsibilities. So the economic and legal responsibilities are essential. That is something required. Okay, and the ethical responsibilities are expected. Okay, so we are expecting more from the corporation, and we desire some responsibilities from discretionary and philanthropic way, okay, of a corporate management. So I think this summarize the Carroll's standpoint in a very easy way to understand. So the classical responsibilities of a corporation are embodied in its economic and legal responsibilities. As I said before, economic and legal responsibilities embodies the classical responsibility of a corporation and the due responsibility of the corporation, including the ethical and discretionary philanthropic responsibilities, reflect the due broader social contract between business and society. So, as time goes by, we are going into this new and broader social contract uh, notion of uh, business, okay, in society. So, uh, this has been the explanation of Carroll and his definition, okay, definition of corporate social responsibility, and this includes uh, four categories of responsibilities.